Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here somewhere in Riverside. Thank you for all the feedback and all the positive comments that you guys shared and told us regarding the podcast of La Vida from Cholo Taina. With that being said, we are today trying to interview a good friend of mine that we have known each other for over 15 years. We used to ride together in the bike scene, and pretty much everybody were part of the way, but he has a definitely interesting story that we want to share to you, and hopefully you guys like it and let us know how you feel about it. So with that being said, Waldo, can you please introduce yourself and let the public know who you are?
Yeah, my name is Waldo Mendoza. I'm from Riverside. I've been in Riverside my whole life. And we're here at my shop, West Coast Air Creations, as we call it, in a small airport called Flabob Airport.
What exactly do you do here? As you can see, we have small planes and stuff like that. Can you please let us know what do we see here?
So yeah, we do full-on restorations. We specialize in antiques. We do a lot of airplanes from 1930s, some of them even from the 20s. So early day airplanes. And we'll do full restorations. We tear them down to bare frame, clean up the frame, and then start assembling piece by piece. A lot of the stuff, if we can save stuff, we'll save it. We'll just repair it and reuse it. But for some of those airplanes, you can't just go to the store and buy parts. So we have to build parts. So we do a lot of metalwork, woodwork, welding, and so on. We also do, we started with restorations, and then we built the business to become a maintenance facility. So we do a lot of recurring maintenance, like annual inspections, oil changes, brake changes, any type of maintenance on general aviation airplanes only. So everything you see in the shop is customers' airplanes. We also got into the paint business. So we have a full-on paint shop. As you can see, we'll take more modern airplanes as well and do custom paint jobs. So whatever the customer wants the airplane to look like, he'll show us a picture kind of the dream that he's got.
Gotcha.
And then we make it happen.
Nice. So how long have you been doing this overall?
For going on 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. I want to say I was 14 years old when I stepped foot into the airport.
And 14 years old.
And just kind of got introduced to a different world, man, and been here for a long time.
So what got you into this area of airplanes and then working on the planes and then overall just putting yourself into this type of work and the type of area of work?
Well, it's a long story. Because really we just fell into aviation by accident. I'll try to give you the short end of the story. As quick as possible. But
yeah, take your time, no rush.
I grew up here in this neighborhood. We're in Rubidoux. Rubidoux, California. A lot of people don't know about Rubidoux. Riverside is really the city that's known. But Rubidoux is where this airport's at. And I lived right outside of the gates for my whole childhood. Actually, I was originally born in Mexico, in Jalisco. And then my parents brought me over here when I was about 8. And I was in Rubidoux from, 8 till about 22. But anyways, during the childhood years, growing up in Rubidoux, I kind of started steering the wrong way, and hanging out with the homies from the neighborhood, and getting in trouble. So I really started in middle school. I was getting kicked out of school and doing my thing, and expelled. And then I started to visit juvenile hall here and there, and so when I was 14, early years when I was 14, I got locked up. I did a couple months. I did 3 or 4 months, and I got out. And the teacher, I went to a continuation school. I got kicked out of regular school, ended up at a continuation school. And there was this teacher who started what she called the Youth Opportunity Program. She was basically going to local businesses
Okay.
and asking business owners, hey, are you willing to take kids and give them work experience? I have money from the school district, and we'll pay the kid. You just have to give them work.
Okay.
So one of the local businesses she hit was Flaybob Airport.
Oh, wow.
And the president of the board for the airport, his name's John Goldenbaum,
Okay.
met this lady, heard what she was trying to do, and he said, you know what? Send me 6 of the worst kids you got. And I
You were
made
one
the
of
cut.
them? You were one of them?
Yeah, I made the cut. So she pulled me in.
Okay.
I was in that continuation school. She pulled me in and said, hey, do you want a job? Well, you know, being 14, I want to put some money in my pockets.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? I've always had good parents, man. Old school Mexican parents, and they were focused on providing for us and feeding us.
Correct.
Not really knowing the direction I was headed, you know?
Correct.
So anyways, through the school program, I said, yeah, I'll take a job. They brought us to the airport and they interviewed me and 5 of my friends, and then the 6th one was my brother.
Okay.
Who I asked this teacher who was running the program. I said, hey, can I get my brother involved with me?
Okay.
And she said, yeah, we'll get him an interview. I think they interviewed 15 of us, and then they already knew the 6 that they were going to pick.
Okay.
So we come to the airport. I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to, help clean the airport or whatever. I'm going to make a little bit of money, so why not? So we showed up, and they had an interview set up, so we had to dress up, big deal back then, but we did dress up, do an interview, and the way they structured this was John Goldenbaum said, well, I'm not going to put these kids to clean. I'm going to show them an actual skill. I want them to work on an actual airplane.
He wanted to show you the trade.
Exactly. So he set up basically a 6-month program.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because this money came from the district, and there was only a pot of money. It wasn't going to keep going.
Correct.
So, well, here, you guys got a temporary job, basically. So, the day one that we come to the airport, he had a little small shack. They called it a hangar, but it was real small. And he put us to work on an airplane. We were working on a DC-3 aileron, which is one of the components that hangs on the wings that'll make the airplane turn. Okay. The DC-3 was the 1940s airliner of the day. So he put us to work right on airplanes. Within those 6 months, two of my guys fell right off. You know what I mean? We were all homies from the same hood.
Yeah.
And 2 of them just fell off in the 6 months. And then at the end of the 6 months, we were supposed to just go back to our regular lives. John Goldenbaum, once again, the president of the airport, offered, hey, if you guys are interested in aviation, keep coming back to the airport. Well, 4 of us did. We finished the program, and then after school, we would just shoot to the airport and hang out, and he had a little bit of work.
Okay.
He had work for us, and
But, sorry to interrupt you. That was after your term was over, so now that was up to this man to take over, and he did that from his own pocket, or what was?
Yeah, so the way that he did it, there was 4 of us left in the program.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, this is what we're going to do. The skill that he taught us was fabric covering, so basically the skinning of an old airplane.
Okay.
It's I'll try to explain that as we go, but so you skin an airplane with polyester fabric.
Okay.
They're not all metal.
Yeah.
A lot of them are metal, some of them are fiberglass. In this particular case, we learn how to skin with polyester fabric.
Okay.
Okay. And it's a whole process.
Okay.
For example, you could take a small airplane, let's just say this size, for example.
Okay.
To skin an airplane like this, it's going to take about 300 hours of labor. Wow. Okay. So in today's market, that'll cost somebody minimum $30,000. Okay. Back when we were doing it, he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to advertise a fresh cover job. That's what they call it. For 50% off. So we were doing an airplane back in those days, he was taking in $8,000 to $10,000.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and he said, and I already have the first project. So the owner of the airport, Tom Waltham was his name, basically donated a project and said, here's $10,000 and here's an airplane. Let these kids build it.
No way.
So he formed an LLC basically between all four of us.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, once again, we're 14, 15 years old by now. And he says, look, I don't want to be your mom or your dad. I don't want to babysit you.
I don't want to hold your
hand.
hand.
So you guys come, work, and then at the end of the week, tell me how many hours you worked, and then I'm going to give you a check from this $10,000 pot of money. Well, man, you can imagine, man, us, we're working, we're showing up, and we're writing down every single hour.
Yeah.
Even though if we weren't moving ahead with the project, we're still, hey, give me the money.
Correct.
So we blew the 10 grand, and we were halfway through the project. So now two of the guys were like,
we're done.
Fuck this, I'm not working for free.
Yeah.
So John Goldenbaum sat us down and said, hey, listen, you guys blew the money. That's not on me.
Yeah.
That's on you. I suggest you guys man up and show up and finish this airplane.
Yeah.
So my brother and I look at each other and say, well, I mean, what the hell? What else do we got to do, man? Just go to school. After school, come chill at the airport. So we did, man, and we worked for free for a good 8 months, and we finished the job.
Just you and your brother?
Yeah, just my brother and I, yeah.
The other two camaradas?
The other two bailed out and got their, their life on their way.
Wow.
And so that showed John that we had integrity.
Correct.
And that we were serious about, building a future in aviation. So he said, okay, we'll get another project. But this time I'm going to get a guy to lead you guys throughout the build.
Correct.
So that brought in another guy named Mark Lightsey, who had a shop. He was doing what we do now on his own in Hemet.
Okay.
So John calls Mark and says, hey, I got an offer you can't refuse. Because John, he's not only the president of the airport, he owns a big company that sells all the materials to reskin airplanes. Oh. And the company's based out of here, out of the airport too, big warehouse. They sell internationally, big, successful businessman. So he says, hey, listen, if you move your shop to Flaybob, I'm going to hook you up with all the materials at cost. But here's the catch. You got to take these two kids and put them to work. So Mark agreed, and he brought his shop over here.
Oh, wow.
And, throughout the time, I was still running around doing my thing. So I got busted again later on down the road, and never been to prison, but I did do, the halls a couple of times, and then county. But what was great was I was kind of living two lives, because I really liked the airplane world that I was introduced to. I actually just, quite frankly, I learned to love it. The aviation was like, man, I really want to do that. But I didn't want to let my homies down either.
Correct.
And at one point, I was 100% for that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The airplane stuff was, hey, I'm making money right here. That's respectable. But I'm still who I am right here. Makes sense. I'm doing my thing. So that's kind of what led to getting busted multiple times.
At what age you felt that it was time for you to merge into the aviation like 100%, and you were like, the homies are the homies, they will not go away, but I feel that it's time for me to merge into a different path and create something out of that? At what age, and what made you go that route?
I gotta say, I know it was around when I was 22 years old.
Okay.
So I'll take it back to the beginning. You know what I mean? We're running around with the hood. I got jumped in when I was 13.
Okay.
So I was pretty active throughout my whole teenage years. So once, 22 is still, in today's world, we're like, man, you're still a kid at 22, right?
Correct.
But in my eyes, I was pretty experienced with the whole, how things go.
Yeah, because you were out with the homies and then putting in work or living that life, yet you were introduced into a different path of life, you know what I mean?
So a way different lifestyle, and then what I saw was potential and becoming successful and actually making money. Now, the biggest turning point for me, where I said, okay, I got to get my shit straight. Once again, now 14, I did, 4 or 5 months in the house. And then right when I turned 18, I hit the county. And these guys from the airport would wait for me to get out and take me back in.
Wow, that's a blessing.
And, and being a Mexican kid and you have a total stranger who's a white guy doing that, you start to look at like, holy man, this is a cool person. This is cool people. So I got in trouble that second time, and I'm like, all right, man, I gotta really be smart about it. I don't want to lose this opportunity.
Understand?
But I still wasn't 100% done. You know what I mean? I'm still chilling, doing my thing, riding around. And then I catch one more case when I'm in my 20. I'm 20, and this was a pretty serious case, and it took about 2 years, 2.5 years of fighting it.
Yeah.
Luckily, Dad spent, his life savings on a lawyer. And was able to help me a lot. But when my first kid landed, Nathan, one of the offers I was getting at the court throughout this case was, I can go and do 6 years.
Okay.
Get out probably 50% of the time with a clean slate, or you can plead guilty to all the charges, and I was fighting five different charges, one of them being gang enhancement, and all the little bullshit charges. But anyways, it was the second deal was like, okay, if you don't want to do that, you got to plead guilty to everything. We're gonna put you on house arrest for 8 months, and then we're gonna give you a 5-year probation. Well, I didn't want to leave my son's mother at the time. She was pregnant, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm gonna go, to the pen, and my kid's gonna be born, and I'm not gonna be here for 2-3 years of his life.
Correct.
Nah, I think I'll go with that.
So you took the plea they gave you, and then you did.
Yeah, so I pleaded guilty. The downside to that is they did give me a strike and all that, but I remember after being done with that case, that's when I said, okay, it's time to separate myself, because
that was an eye-opening.
I'm going to throw this away, and not only the future that I got going for myself, but can't do that to
your
my
newborn.
kid. Yeah.
How old were you at that time? It was like 20, 21, 22?
I was 22, yeah.
So your first son was at 22 years old?
Yeah.
So at that time, so your son and all of that scenario help you to gather yourself and
you got kids, man, but now you gotta you don't matter as much as that other person.
Yes, sir.
Now you got somebody to look after.
Yeah, you gotta feed him, you gotta clothe him, and
exactly.
He needs milk, and definitely.
And that, even though I was running around doing my thing, that's to me was a natural instinct, because I have, like I said, man, I got good parents. My dad has always been there for me. And I think, I want to say, he raised me well, even though I was running around.
Yeah.
I was able to look at him, and he did his thing, man, and he continues to do his thing.
Yeah.
So me putting my kid first was just a natural instinct at the time.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, that's definitely a great story overall, as showing to the viewers out there that even though we come from this rough background, we still are able to gather ourselves and make positive decisions and become a different individual overall in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it took us a several amount of years and several fuck ups, you know. Sorry for my language, but at the end of the day, it's the truth overall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I think God has a plan for all of us, and that was part of the plan for our lives. I mean,
True.
because I lost a lot of homies to prison, and some of them to drugs, and some of them, lost their lives in those early years
Correct.
of my life. And back then, you didn't think past tomorrow.
No.
You're like, hey, that's all you gave a shit about. What are you doing today?
That's
and
it.
You're not thinking about the future, man.
Yeah, we never thought to live more than 20 years old, or 25 at the most.
And I consider myself very lucky for opening up my eyes at an early age.
Yeah.
And really taking the aviation industry seriously, because this is the only real job that I've had. I mean, and I've 20 years into it, and so every penny that I've made legally,
correct,
has been in aviation.
Wow.
So it's a blessing.
Definitely. What is the percentage of Hispanic people being involved on this type of field?
Here in the United States, it's a small percentage. I mean, what my brother and I do is definitely recognized by many people. We're known throughout the United States just for that reason. Two Mexican kids who got into aviation, and look at what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these airplanes are high dollar restorations. I'm talking, I guess the easiest way to explain it is people dump all this crazy money into lowrider cars.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
You could take an Impala and easily dump $100,000 to even $200,000 into it.
Yeah.
Right? The airplane world is the same thing, man. These guys want that particular airplane. They'll dump $500,000 into it. In some cases, they'll dump $1 million into it, even if the airplane is not worth what they put into it. So, and another thing that helps us out is what we do, the type of work what we do is kind of a dying art. All the old guys who are doing these have faded away, and we're considered the new generation.
The new generation, okay.
And the demand is there, but nobody to do the work. So, man, we got more work than we can handle, actually. And we got customers that come from the East Coast, and travel.
They come to you and...
Yeah, they want to get their airplanes done by us, so they'll bring their project over here. And some of the full restorations we take on, it'll take us 2, maybe even 3 years to complete.
So the whole restoration of the plane itself?
Full restorations, minimum 2 years. And it takes a long time because sometimes we're waiting for parts. And we'll put 1 or 2 guys on that restoration, and then the rest of the guys, we have jobs around the restoration so we can keep everybody busy. But it's definitely it's like a specialty type of work, and people are looking because there's a lot of airplanes, antique airplanes, but there's just not enough people doing the work
to keep it alive and
yeah, exactly. So
restoration and all of that.
We're trying to pass the torch down too. We got some youngsters that are working here at the shop, and we're eventually. I don't consider myself old yet. Okay, I'm still pretty young, but eventually we're gonna get there, man.
Yes, sir.
And we gotta pass that torch down to the next group of guys. But back to your original question, I don't know, man. If I said 1%, maybe.
So you were the 1% at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would say it's a really small that do what we do.
Percentage of
maybe 1%.
Yeah, so there's no other Hispanic or Mexican out there that they do what you do as a business that you know of.
I mean, I do know of shops who have Hispanics working for
a
white guy.
Yeah, meaning as
a business owner.
As a business owner,
absolutely. Yeah,
position.
there's not one that comes to mind, at least.
Wow.
We network with a lot of other shops, You know, some of our stuff we'll send to other shops and they do the work, they send it back. So we got a lot of good friends who have Hispanics working for them. But yeah, as a business owner, no, not really.
Nice. Now that you are on this stage in life, you know what I mean, and we're talking about our past and the way that we did certain things, by you looking at it and reminiscing of this whole situation and story that you just said to us, what are your thoughts on that? How do you see that from the past, and is there any regrets? Is anything that you feel like I needed to go through that stage of life for me to appreciate what I have today, type of situation?
Yeah, regrets, no. I don't have any regrets. I've always just rolled with the punches. You know, life will throw you curveballs and you got to deal with it. As far as learning from my experiences, absolutely. You know, you can definitely lose yourself in that world.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do, man. I mean, you know, especially where you come from, you know, LA is crazy with, you know, you got neighborhoods in every block.
Yeah.
Right here in Riverside, you do too. I mean, it's easy to get wrapped up in the wrong things because as a kid, you don't know better. You grow up around it and you think it's normal and you want to be part of the cool group and
True.
And you ride with who you grow up with. But I learned a lot, man. I learned a lot about people. You got what I call true homies that see you doing well for yourself and respect it and will still call you a friend. And then you got a lot of the homies that get upset when you start to fade away from that lifestyle. And I'm not mad at them.
True.
It is what it is. People are going to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But, you know, you just got to realize, man, that a lot of that stuff is really not worth it because you're going to, it doesn't carry into a good future.
Correct.
So, you know, it's unfortunately you lose a lot of kids and youngsters to that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, you know, once again, I don't want to talk down on people for taking whatever path they took. But definitely learned a lot, man. And I had fun. My teenage years, I got to say, man, it was fun. And it was like, because, you know, like I tell you, man, when I join something or I'm dedicated to something, I'm 100% for it. And it's hard to change my mentality from that. But for some reason, you know, and I gave you the reason, my kid being at least I believe that's my main reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mind started thinking different. And I'm like, shit, now I got this little human I got to feed. So I got to stop.
Change
putting
my ways.
in work.
Yeah. Not different.
Stop. Yeah.
Different.
Now I got to think about like, oh shit, there's a cop right there. I don't want to get busted.
You know what I mean?
So that's kind of where I'm at. And now, 20 years into it, man, you know, I'm 37 now, man. We're not kids anymore.
No, definitely not.
You know, to add to this whole aviation thing, man, one of the, back to the original story, you know, that little airplane that we finished, John Goldenbaum told my brother and I, hey, are you guys interested in flying airplanes? I was like, oh, all right, well, yeah, we're around airplanes, why not fly them? So he says, well, if you guys finish the project, I'm gonna find a sponsor and I'm gonna get them to pay for your pilot's license. Okay, so like I said earlier, we finished the project, and sure enough, Tom Wathen, who was alive at the time, he was the owner of the airport. He paid for Nando and I to get our pilot's license. So we started flying. When I started flying, I was about 18 years old, and finally at 22 or 23 years old, I received my license.
So you were an actual pilot that you are able to go by yourself and...
Yeah, so it's been I've had a pretty successful road so far, but yeah, I got my private pilot license when I was 23.
Yeah.
And then I was working full time on airplanes, and just flying became a hobby. And then I started flying all the time, and it actually became a passion.
Okay.
So I started looking into, well, man, what else can I do? So just being around the right people and at the right time, I started to build onto my pilot's license. So I went ahead and got my, they call it your commercial rating.
Okay.
Which means not that you're flying commercial airplanes or airliners, but I can work for a company and make money flying. So I got my commercial rating. I got my instrument rating. The instrument rating is basically flying off of nothing but instruments without looking outside. And then the opportunity came up, and I went and got my instructor's rating. So I'm a certified flight instructor. I can teach you to fly if you want.
Sheesh.
And right now I'm working on my multi-engine instructor rating. So there's airplanes with 2 engines.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother license.
Another level.
That you can get. And man, I'm almost there. I'm almost running out of licenses. So I got all the licenses, and my mechanics license, obviously I needed to get that, because you do have to be a
certified mechanic.
Yeah, a certified mechanic to do some of the work that we do. Just recently, man, one of my proudest accomplishments, I fly a DC-3. It's a 1943 airliner. I'll show you guys the airplane in a little bit.
Yeah.
These things are history in the air, man. These airplanes served during World War II. This particular airplane, the Flaybob Express, we named it after the airport, has been around the airport for 15 years. So I did maintenance on this. Well, long story short, on Wednesday I got my what they call a type rating. So I'm now the captain of that ship. I can fly that as the captain, and it's originally a 28 passenger airplane. We have it set up for 16 people, but we use it and maintain it once again just to preserve history. There's a group of guys who love the story of the airplane, so they keep the airplane alive, and it's almost 80-year-old airplane, 1943. Wow. And we still fly it.
You do have a lot of stars under your belt, and it has taken a lot of your youth and a lot of your time, and pretty much to gather all of this, not just for you, for the future of the kids, and then for young kids. What exactly do your kids think about all of this? How do they see you? Not just you're the dad and you're a provider and all of that, you know what I mean? But just overall, how do they see you?
I got the greatest relationship with my kids. My oldest boy lives in Texas.
Okay.
His mother and I mean, we split when he was a baby, and he's been in Texas for his whole life. And that's another thing that I'm really proud about, because I've been able to maintain a super cool and close relationship with that kid. He'd come out here and spend the whole summer and vacations and all that. And I think he respects me and loves me, because he tells me all the time. I talk to the kid. So that one right there was tough when he left. But the kid's doing great.
Good.
And the mom does good with them, so I have no complaints in that department. The other 2 kids, Nathan's 16. I have Ryan, he's 15. And then Chubbs, or Jay, we call him Chubbs. Chubbs is the family name.
Yeah.
He's gonna be 11 June 18th. But those kids love me, man. I'm coming from where I came from and the way that I grew up. I'm super involved in their lives.
Good.
They're huge into sports.
Good.
They take aviation for granted because they grew up in it. But they love flying. The Texas kid is on a different story, but my 15-year-old he's wanting to get his pilot's license. Right here, believe it or not, they'll let a kid at 16 years old on his 16th birthday solo an airplane. That means fly by himself.
Just here or anywhere?
Anywhere in the U.S. I don't know if other countries are like that, but you can get your solo certificate
At 16 years old.
at 16 years old. So it's like giving them a permit. You don't get your license just yet, but you can solo at 16.
How many hours does he need to have on his belt to have that privilege?
To be able to solo, there's no hour requirement. It's just the instructor needs to bless you and say he's ready.
You're the dad.
And I'm able to do that. Yeah. So I'm able to give him that blessing. Now, I don't know how I feel about watching my kid take off at 16 and I'm on the ground. But I fly with them quite a bit. I fly with both of those kids, with Jason and Ryan. And they bug me about it. They're like, Dad, can we go flying? Can we go flying? So I think the passion is there.
Yeah.
But I don't push it into them.
Okay.
I want them to live their life.
Smart.
Pick what they want to do. Right now, if you ask Ryan, he's going to the NFL. If you ask Chubbs, he's going to the NBA.
Okay.
And I'm 100% for it.
Good.
I'm not going to shoot their dreams down.
Good.
And I tell them, well, what's your plan B? Well, to work for you, Dad. So, But yeah, they're cool kids, man, and they're fun to be around.
What are your parents, your mom and dad, think of all this overall?
My mom and dad, they just can't believe their eyes. They can't believe how far we've come because, your parents are the ones that suffer through those crazy years.
Yeah.
Right now, I look at my kids, man, and, my 15-year-old or 16-year-old, I couldn't imagine seeing them behind bars. So now I really think about what I put my jefita to,
Yeah.
She would go and visit me every Sunday when I was in juvenile hall. I still remember and cry. And now for her to go from that stage to where I'm at now, I mean, this is not only our shop, man. We got it set up to where we do family barbecues and we get everybody together. So she comes and she'll tell us all the time.
That's dope.
I can't believe this. And then Pops too. Pops is super proud. The old man.
Yeah.
He's always clowning around, but
yeah.
He's prideful. He loves calling his brothers and showing us off. Like, hey, look at what my kids do. Because at one point, a lot of the family was, hey, those are the troublemakers. They're the black sheep cool. Of the family. Yeah, we were, and they see the turnaround and they're like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Now you own your own business with your brother and have all this. What would I call that? A dream. That some other people might wanna fly a plane on one day or at least be part of something like this. You know what I mean? And then overall, we wanted to shine that light through this podcast and show the youth that we make mistakes in life. That is eventually life itself. But at the end of the day, I feel that we should man up, admit our mistakes and embrace them, and then try to make some changes, positive, not just for us, for the people around us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And
you know what I mean?
I'll to add to that, probably 6 years ago, I'm sitting here with my brother and back to John Goldenbaum, and this is years after I went through a program. And through a good friend of ours who's wealthy, we talked about, hey, it'd be cool to bring that program back and try to get some knuckleheads into the airport or open up the doors to the community.
Yeah.
Because the community needs all the help they can get. So about 6 years ago, I started the program again, the Youth Opportunity Program, and I partnered up with different people. I partnered up with DOR, is Department of Rehabilitation from Riverside County. Mm-hmm. Also, the Youth Opportunity Center here in Jurupa Valley, and we get funding from the government to give kids, and I say troubled youth, but just kids that need a little bit of guidance.
Yeah.
They can come in, interview. If we like them, we put them to work, and these facilities will give them a check. So I have 4 kids that come here and do part-time work for us. We just say whatever we tell them to do, whether it's clean an airplane, wash it, or hold this wrench, hold this screwdriver. So I've been doing that for 6 years, man, and I've had some success stories.
That's dope.
Some kids are working for airline companies because we try to funnel them through here, and then get them to where they get their airframe and power plant license. That's what they call the certification for working on airplanes. And the coolest part, and before COVID, it was cool because we partnered up with the local juvenile hall.
Okay.
And I would go into the juvenile hall and interview 10, 15 kids from the halls. And then I'd say, all right, I want these 4. And the COs would bring the kids, drop them off right here, right in front of the shop. And then I would put them to work for 3-4 hours. And then they'd pick them up and take them back to the unit. Now, these are all low security kids, but I got to meet some great kids from in there. And some of them would get out and still come and work. In fact, I got 2 kids that I met through that situation
6 years ago.
Then then COVID hit and they wouldn't let anybody in and out of that place.
Yeah.
And that kind of faded away, and I still have the contacts and they want to open the doors up, but we didn't stop the program. I still I can handpick kids from the neighborhood and say, hey, do you want a job? Come interview. And you just got to go through these facilities, and these facilities do the paperwork, and then you get a check through them.
How do you feel about that? What
It
are
feels
you?
good, man, because I'm trying to give the same opportunity that I was given, but I'm on this side of the fence now. But I think it's crazy thinking about it. For me, it's easier to connect with these kids because
You relate to
I've been where they're at.
Yeah.
But back in those days, we're looking at a white guy, and we really couldn't relate.
Yeah.
Now, John Goldenbaum grew up. He was 25 years in the Air Force.
Okay.
He retired as a colonel.
Okay.
And he flew some pretty badass airplanes. He flew A1 Sky Raider during Vietnam, and then some fighter jets like F-16 and stuff like that. So he didn't really understand. He tried to connect his squadron or his military people
Background?
to the gang life.
Oh, okay.
Hey, we do whatever for
the government,
our homies too. So I know how you guys roll, and you'll do whatever for your homies. That's kind of what his connection to us was, which was pretty cool. But we were still kind of starstruck. Like, why is this white guy trying to help us? So now that I'm doing it, I'm the director of the program. Here at the airport, I got my cousin who runs a automotive restoration shop.
Yeah.
I got to show you guys the shop if he's around. But anyways, I have 4 kids that work in the automotive shop, and then I usually take 4 kids and put them in the aviation program. So,
if any of the viewers on this podcast have a relative, neighbor, somebody that is going through hard times, right now they're young, and they're hearing your words, and they want to reach out to this program, how are they able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a youngster that's in need of work experience, I don't guarantee any of these kids a full-time job.
Yeah.
Because the way that this program is structured is we'll do a couple sessions. So for example, you come to my program, I'm going to start you off with 300 hours of work experience.
Okay.
It depends on you. If you show me that you're really interested and you're serious, then I give you an additional 300 hours. So that's 600 hours. Now this is part-time, so I can stretch this out for 6 to 8 months. And then those ones that are like, all right, this kid's got the gift.
Yeah.
Then we'll hire them
full time
through our job. Yeah. through our company.
Yeah.
But anyways, to get the information on the program, you just go on the airport website,
Okay.
flabobairport.com,
Okay.
and go under youth programs.
Okay.
There's several youth programs that are here, but the one that I run is the Youth Opportunity Program.
The Youth Opportunity Program. Which website again?
It's Flabob Airport. I believe it's flabobairport.org.
Okay.
But if you just look up Flabob Airport and go to the website, it's gonna take you right to it.
Okay. We'll try to put that on the link and try to see if we are able to find the website. And
Now the only, I guess not downside, but the people that we work with are Riverside County kids.
Okay.
So it's got to be Riverside
That's
County. Or have family with an address in Riverside County, if you know what I'm saying.
I understand.
There's ways to get around.
There's always loops.
But for sure, Riverside County kids, and it doesn't have to be necessarily kids. You know, I try to go anywhere from when you can get a work permit, which is I believe 16 years old, to 25 years old. That's my range.
Okay.
If you qualify for the program, you're having a hard time, that's the range, and we'll definitely, obviously, you know, I interview the people, and I can see when somebody really does want to work and when somebody doesn't want to work. So you do have to go through an interview process, but the program's open to everybody.
That's nice. That's nice. I feel that that's definitely a blessing. Try to help these youths again and bring that back, that whole program, like you said, because the opportunity was given to you at that time, even though you never saw what eventually you were getting yourself involved into.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it took you several steps for you to become a different individual and gather all of this information and put yourself in a situation nowadays that you have a small business that is unique.
Yeah.
The 1%, you know, that you're definitely out there, you know, and hopefully a lot of the viewers are able to see your story and share it to their kids, to their relatives, and they're able to share, hey, you know what, we made mistakes, but hopefully you're able to change your ways and become a different person. It doesn't have to be aviation. It could be a mechanic, auto mechanic. It could be any other branch, but as long as they change their ways.
Yeah, you're right, man. The way to look at it is, if you find something you love doing,
Correct.
you never have to work a day of your life.
Yeah.
That's the way that I look at it. And just like you said, man, it just happened to be that in my life, you know, airplanes and aviation is what caught my eye. But absolutely, man, it could be anything.
Definitely.
You know, it just pick something you like doing and do it. And if I could do it, anybody could do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's easy to say it than doing it, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I feel if there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
With that being said, did you have any mentor through that process in your life?
Well, I think the number one mentor was, you know, I go back to John Goldenbaum, just all his accomplishments and some of the airplanes that he flew. And you know, he's got, I forget the exact number, but he's got 600 and something combat hours during Vietnam. And you just look up to people like that.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who basically puts his life on the line for other people. He did that for this country, and then he comes home, and then he did that for a couple of young Mexican kids from Rubidoux.
Yeah.
You know, so I learned to look at him as one of my number one mentors for sure in the aviation world. My dad for sure, you know, Pops is definitely on the list. The guy's a very hardworking guy and a good dad. So that was also one of the one of my mentors, I would say, throughout my life story. So, but yeah, and my brother, you know, that guy and I we grew up together. We were best friends since we were babies. Grew up in the same neighborhood and ran with the same homies. got into aviation at the same time and grew the business together. And I haven't been able to get rid of that guy. We're still, connected
That's dope.
and he's 2 years older, so
Okay.
He's one of my main guys.
That's dope. So we are gonna take a little walk here on the Waldo shop, and then he can tell us of what we have here on stands and all of that. So we have a small or medium project that you have in here, right?
Yeah. So this, pretty big project. We've had it for probably 2 years now or so. I know it doesn't look like much, but we do have the whole tail sections complete. The wings are done. This is the last bit of the project. We have an engine. We have everything we need. We're just waiting on the landing gear. We sent the landing gear off for rebuild. Okay. And then once that comes in, it's assembly time. So we're hoping to see this sometime in the near future. Realistically, next year, this thing will be flying. And this is a 1940s stagger wing built by Beechcraft.
1940s?
Yeah, 1940s. The exact year, I believe it's a 1943. This was modified. Originally, this was all skin, the polyester fabric that we talked about earlier. But somebody went and metallized the fuselage. The rest of the airplanes is wood and that polyester skin. But here's a picture of what the owner brought us. Okay. This is what he wants it to look like.
That will be the final product.
This is the final product when it flies. So he picked a white with a Ferrari red.
That's beautiful.
So this is if you come back,
hopefully we'll take a little flight.
Under a year or so.
So is this a restoration request, or what is this?
Yeah, this was a restoration. This guy retired from the airlines. He was an airline pilot, and he dreamed of having this airplane throughout his entire lifetime, and he finally got some money to buy the airplane. Okay. And he decided to tear it down and restore it. That's dope. From the ground up. So this airplane, when it's done, it'll live in Upland. There's a little airport over there called Cable Airport. Okay. And that's where he has a hangar, and that's where the airplane will end up. Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Good story. Right next to you, right behind you, what do we have here?
So this is called a rocket, a Harmon rocket, and it's just a kits built plane. Okay. There's you can buy the kits and put them together. So they call them home builds. Okay. So somebody who, looks up the airplane, they have different models. This one right here is a pretty badass model. It's got a big engine, IO 540. Okay. And they call it a rocket because it really does fly like a rocket. So
this is like a 2 people airplane?
Yeah, it's 2 people, tandem. You got the pilot and then a passenger. It's got dual control. So you can actually teach someone to fly in it if you wanted to. But this is all just kind of fun and pleasure. It's like you buying a Harley and wanting a cool Harley with a big engine. This is what this is. Yes, yeah. So this is more modern. And we're just doing a custom paint job on this one.
So airbrush and all that. What did you airbrush?
The owner built the plane, and he said, I want a skull with it. We're not done. The smoke is going to turn into that stripe. Okay. The airbrushing is done by my cousin. He owns AK Airbrushing. That's an automotive shop that's here at the airport. Okay. And we'll do a quick walk around through his shop just so you can see some of his work.
That's dope. What do we have over there on the white?
Then this one right here is a 41 Luscombe, they call it. And this one is as original as it gets. It is metallized fuselage. The wings are rag wings, which are the polyester fabric. This is just a project that Nando and I decided to kind of do for ourselves. Okay. And then the airport got involved with it, and they're helping us out with the project. But this is going to be our own little personal airplane. So I'll use this to teach. Yeah, okay. I'm going to use this to teach. That's dope. And hopefully, the main idea is to teach all our kids to fly in this one here.
That's dope.
So not necessarily a customer's project, but still a project.
Yeah, definitely. And I see at the end on the corner you have like a skeleton. What's that?
Yeah, so
maybe I worded it wrong, but
yeah. No, these are definitely full restorations, and these are really antiques. These are 1930s, the early 30s. They're two. They call them Wacos.
Okay.
The name of the company was Waco back then, and they're just different models. One is a UPF-7, and the other one's a Y-5. But they're very similar airplanes. They're biplanes, 4 wings, open cockpit. So you basically find a convertible. But yeah, we tear it down a bare frame. You can see this one's on the tear down stage. And then we start building stuff and modifying stuff. You can see we just built all these pedals here.
I see that.
Welded them all together. Then we built the rods that hook up, because there's going to be the main pilot sits in the back.
Okay.
And there's a passenger here.
In the front.
But we're going to put dual controls so that they have controls of the airplane
As well.
too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can teach in it. And then, the tail section. We try to build everything and mock it up dry.
Okay.
And then once everything fits, then we disassemble, and then we do the paint. That frame over there is already painted. We already finished repairing and doing the little bit of the wood. There's more wood that comes around this frame. You can see we're doing the sheet metal work on it now. That one's it's obviously more ahead than this one, but that's, I'll show you some pictures of.
So you do everything here on your shop, as welding and fabricating with the wood and pretty much
and
everything that we see here.
Yeah. Yeah, so we try to do about probably, 90% of the work happens in-house, and then we have people we work for like interiors.
Yeah.
The interior, there's certain things like avionics, stuff that goes into the instruments. We network with other companies and subcontract the work, but for the most part, the build is done here, and we got guys. We got a good team.
That's dope.
We got a couple guys that specialize in sheet metal work.
Yeah,
and then we got one guy that's great with woodwork. Nando does a lot of the welding, and I do a lot of the fabric, the polyester fabric, and the painting. So it's kind of a team effort to get one of these done.
Gotcha. What is the turnaround time for a project like this?
So it typically takes us, minimum 2 years for something like this, and sometimes it can stretch up to 4 years. Depends on parts or stuff that you might be waiting for. But if we had all the parts and you hit it, let's say we put 2 guys on a project like this, it'll take you every bit of 2 years to complete
to get it
up in the air.
You get the chance to fly them at the end?
We do. So if the owner's okay with it, we do the test flight. We'll put in a couple hours on the airplane, and then we'll turn it over to the owner. So for the most part, we do a lot of the test flights of the airplanes that come out of the shop.
That's dope.
Yeah. So
what has been the your most unique request from a customer when it comes into this type of buildups?
Well, most of these type of buildups, the customer wants original.
Okay.
They want to take it back to when it came out of the factory.
Okay.
So we like that. Because back then they were building these things and they had a simple paint job. Now, once in a while, man, you get the customer that wants this crazy, fancy paint job, and I'll show you some pictures of some of the airplanes that we've done. But so some customers could get wild with their dreams, but hey, if they have the money, their
sky's
dreams
the limit.
will come true. Yeah, exactly. We'll do whatever they want.
Is the majority of the clients that you work for, what is their background? What are their
well, they come from all different businesses. I mean, their backgrounds are all different. Somehow or another they got into aviation, but it's not one group of people. Some of our customers are airline pilots, and some of them have construction businesses. Some of them have businesses outside of the aviation world. So we just get customers of you know, all kinds.
Yeah, all kinds of backgrounds and all that.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Out of those customers, is there any Hispanic one that you have encountered? Because I know this is an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so I just want to shine the light on that specific area as the same. Some of the gente they like have lowriders.
Yeah.
They have big class and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You being the 1% of putting this together, have you encountered, you know, an individual, Hispanic, you know, Mexican or whatever background that can say, hey, I am able to afford this type of hobby?
No, not really. I mean, it's just not. I do know, you know, Hispanics that are very wealthy and do good for themselves, but it's just the aviation world is not the world.
It's not for
so
them.
Most of the people that we deal with are most of them are white, just point blank, because
Correct.
you know they either grew up around aviation or they've just always wanted to do aviation, and once they established themselves, they got into it.
That's dope.
So yeah, I can't tell you that I have a customer that builds 64 Impalas and then wants to build a 1930s biplane. So
definitely,
it's a whole different world, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will you be kind to take us to the other area of your shop?
Yeah. So I'll show you. You know, this is, as you can see, I have all the airplanes in here, and then
How many hangars do you have?
We have 4 hangars that are considered shop. This one and then 3 others. Right here, you can see the welding station. So here's all the welding equipment. Then we have, you know, machines to make parts and stuff like that. There's for sheet metal.
Yes.
That's a brake. We have a shear to cut. We do have plenishing hammers to form.
Oh, I see.
Bead rollers, a sandblasting cabinet, a little bit of everything, man. And then I have tooling and all my other hangars.
What do we have here on this?
So here, this is the early stages. This is a more modern airplane, but it is. They try to keep it like an antique.
Okay.
So this is the main structure of the wing.
Yeah.
Or this is the wing, but it's on an aluminum structure. And then after this, it gets skinned with fabric. And I'll show you what the fabric is. So here's the skin of a lot of these airplanes, and I'll show you some airplanes in the other shops, but it's just polyester fabric. Think about basically making a sock with this material.
Oh, wow.
And putting that sock over this wing.
Yeah.
And then you take a iron, see that iron that's behind you?
Yes, right here.
And you touch this material, and this material will shrink with heat.
Oh, wow.
So you apply heat to it, it shrinks.
Yeah.
And then it'll end up like this. This is our airplane component. This is the tail section. This is that material, this polyester fabric, but this has been shrunk. So these are the early stages, but after you shrink it, you start applying different coatings. Right now, it's just got a sealer coat.
Okay.
And then after this stage, it goes into our spray booth.
Okay.
And then you start spraying more coatings, and eventually you paint it.
Oh, wow.
And then it looks like a finished airplane.
So this is water resistant and...
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the old skin right here. So
Okay.
we'll remove old skin. This is painted skin.
Got it.
And then we'll replace it. Because typically an airplane that has this type of material, if you take care of it and it's inside, it'll last you 40 to 50 years, and then you have to redo it again.
That's a long time.
If it sits outside, it might need to be redone after 20 to 25 years, yeah.
Wow, that's definitely...
But yeah, I'll show you finished airplanes that are almost 90% of it are tube and fabric. So
all of this is down here on this shop.
Yeah, so you want to roll the little cart?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go to the cart.
Go get a tour.
All right, so
how big is this area? Square footage.
The airport's a couple hundred acres actually. 120 something acres, I want to say, maybe a little more. So it's pretty big.
How many hangars do you have here?
I don't know the exact number, but there is a lot of hangars. Yeah, I'd have to look into see how many hangars, but we we did bring. There's an airport that closed up in Rialto,
Yeah.
and we bought a bunch of hangars because they were gonna just tear them down.
Oh yeah.
And we just put them up here.
Okay.
And but I'll show you around. You can see all the hangars and get a quick tour. So this roll of hangars, we got hangar A, B,
Yeah.
and then we skipped to hangar D, and these are all part of our shop, as well as that one over there. That's gonna be that's where we do avionics installs and stuff like that. We got a couple guys that do the installs for us.
Okay. So this is where you storage the majority of the projects.
we actually got tools over here, and there's a couple of guys that are working over there, and then we send a couple guys over here because we just can't fit everything into one.
Makes sense.
So you can see more. These are some engine stands for that engine shop that I'm telling you we're gonna get ready to start.
Okay.
But there's a Beechcraft Bonanza. That's it's a newer airplane that we use.
That looks like a commercial plane.
So these right here, this is what we do maintenance on. So we do inspections, we do oil changes, whatever type of maintenance it needs, we do it as well. Here we got a Stearman. This is what those frames will eventually look like. Now this is a different type and model airplane, but those will be a biplane, and they're kind of convertibles like this. This is all polyester fabric. This is the material.
This is finished product.
Yeah, this is the finished product, and even the body of it is polyester, and this is what it looks like after you paint it and put all the coatings.
This is like a show plane type of deal?
So these are just for pleasure, man. I mean, this one belongs to actually he's a good guy, a friend of ours, but he's a Red Bull helicopter pilot.
Oh, wow.
That's what he does for a business. And he just likes old airplanes. So he owns this one, and we maintain it for him.
Good. What do we have all the way
That's another one that's called a Chipmunk, and that's just a British design. There's a guy here who's British, and he's become one of our customers.
Yeah.
So we do his annual inspections every year. And that's what it's here for. We're doing a full-on inspection. So you open it all up, take all the fairings, inspection panels, look at the engine, pull the spark plugs, clean them, gap them, do everything you need to do. Make sure it's safe to fly again, put it together. Then we have to sign our name on the paperwork, and it's legal to fly again.
Give it back to the
customer. So by law, every year they have to do the annual inspection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they keep record of it, and then, if they flew it out of date, then they can get in trouble if something happened. But so, yeah, all these guys are just customers that we've built over the years, and they bring their airplanes every year, once a year for us. Annual inspection could typically take, if you don't find anything wrong with the airplane, it'll take you 2, maybe 3 days to complete. If you start finding stuff, then it can be in here for, a month or maybe even 2.
Wow, what is
depending on what you gotta do.
What's the horsepower on a motor like this, or how do you?
This one, I'm not sure how much horsepower it's got. I think I don't know, 160 horsepower. This is I say these engines were built upside down. It's a British design, but you see how it's the cylinder heads.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Here? Yeah. So that's just the design, and I don't. It's weird because even the tools, here in the United States, we use standard tools.
Correct.
And these got their own British metric. It's not even regular metric. Like you work on a motorcycle and you're using 10 millimeter.
Correct.
Well, this has its own specialty tools. Not even the metric ones fit. So it's definitely a unique airplane. And Nando, my brother, and a couple of the guys started working on these.
Yeah.
And there's about 3 in the local area here, and they heard about, they maintain those. So now we have 3 customers that have these type of airplanes. But
that's dope.
It's definitely a unique setup for this engine.
Definitely something different.
Yep, it's an upside down motor. Now these, they're the radial engines. The engine shop that I told you were about to start.
Yes.
That's what we're gonna start building, radial engines like that. And that one, we'll specialize on certain certain engines to begin with, but eventually, you know, all these. So this is, you know, a Lycoming engine. And this one, actually on the data plate, you know, it does give you a lot of the information. But these engines, if you take care of them, they're pretty reliable, man. They're good engines. So
what's the lifetime of an engine like this?
they go by hours.
Oh.
So some of them, and I gotta look it up off the top of my head. I don't remember, but some of them will run 1,800 hours, and then you have to overhaul them. And it's a recommendation that you overhaul. Not if the airplane's doing good and the compressions are good, you can still continue to fly it. But they call it TBO, time before overhaul.
Okay.
They recommend a certain time. Some engines will go up to 2,000 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then there's some that are less. Some of them are 1,100 hours. So it depends on the engine.
That's nice.
That engine right here is going on the stagger wing, the one I showed you over there with the red.
Yes.
This is a 985. That's 450 horsepower. So that's a beautiful engine. And this is new. This is overhauled and ready to go. So that's what it's gonna look once we mount it on there. These are the 1930s airplanes that are over there. They're all wood spar, wood ribs, and then you skin them with that polyester fabric. So this is what they
So this is this the original from the plane from 1940s?
Yeah, this is original wood, and then we'll sand it down and revarnish it, and then it'll start looking like new wood. But
oh, wow.
A lot of the airplanes are original stuff, and if we can save it, we keep it, and we just take care of it, preserve it, and then we reuse it.
Recycle it.
Yeah.
That's dope.
But a lot of this stuff is, you know, sometimes they have little accidents and bend and break wood, so we have to rebuild it. So we do a lot of woodwork, and this is where we do most of the woodwork in this corner.
That's nice.
You know, polyester fabric. Right now, this one here, the owner and the wife, they're both airline captains.
Okay.
They both fly for the airlines. The wife, obviously she learned in a small airplane, but she hasn't flown small airplanes for a number of years because she just deals with the airlines.
I don't know anything about planes, but it looks from back in the days. This is ready to go.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the airplanes that got us the first trophy we got at Oshkosh, the Wisconsin Air Show. This was it. It got second place. And I flew around for a year, and then it had a little accident where they flipped it over on its back. And we haven't fixed it over again, but someday we will. So I had a little owie. Myself, no, I never really had any real issues. Little things here and there when we first put this airplane together. The engine wasn't running right, so you'd take off and up in the air, it tried quitting, and it opens up your, you know, it catches your attention, but nothing real major. It's always everything. If you know, most of the accidents that happen are pilot error. So if you just take your time and never be in a rush, most of the time things work out pretty smooth. And this is the guy that's doing all the airbrushing on
for the planes.
Yeah, whatever custom airbrushing we get, we bring it to Alan, which is my cousin.
He's your airbrushing. What's the name of the shop?
AK Airbrushing. But they're an automotive shop. They do insurance jobs, so you know, fender benders and whatever type of car work. But he does do a lot of custom builds too. You know, this is yeah. So this is just recently did all this stuff. You can see you know, all these are magazines that his work's been in.
He has created.
Yeah. So definitely a pretty cool.
That's nice.
Cool shot.
This little troquita.
Yeah. There's another bike he's
painting.
Yeah. That's where he does all the airbrushing. Oh yeah, they'll do. So he's got, you know, he's got a mechanic in here. So if they want to put new engines, whatever, he does full restorations on cars.
And he's helping as well with the youth program that you stated?
Yeah, he helps with the youth program. So we try to limit it because we're so busy. We can't spend too much time. I call it babysitting.
Of course.
But I send 4 kids over here to the automotive shop, and then 4 kids will be in the aviation side of the program. Yeah.
So
but
you have
all the
total
same
eight kids total.
8 kids at a time. Yeah.
Okay. And this
And
is
then
for
we
a 6 month?
Yeah, it's for that hour amount. So 300 hours if the kid is worth while, then we go to 600 hours, and I can potentially get a 3rd session, so up to 900 hours of work experience. And then he's got some kids that went through the program and now work for his company. Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So our main motive is to give them work experience and a taste of real life.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they whether they stay in aviation or not, or in the automotive industry, that's really up to them.
Correct. As long you show them the path and they can make decision as which route they want to take.
Yeah.
That's dope. This is definitely a nice, unique shop overall.
Yeah, and he's got this whole yard back here too. Let's see if this is the nice part of the shop, but I mean he's got. Oh, this is where I did your truck. Remember?
Yeah.
So I gave him this yard, and he still has, So he runs his business out of there, and he's got this whole yard. So it's not airplanes, but old cars, old airplanes. We make it work.
Plus, he's helping the youth, so
yeah, exactly. That's the main thing.
It's a win-win situation.
That was the main thing. Bringing a shop into the airport, we said, "Hey, this is the catch."
I gotta bring my truck over here.
But yeah,
still have it.
You still have it?
Yeah, in my grandpa's.
Yeah, well,
I gotta restore it again. I got luck on that.
Yeah, he'll do. The first time you brought it, you had airplane guys working on your truck. But he's the real deal. I mean, you can see some of of what he does.
What is your personal value, or what is most important for the personal values are most important for you? What are the most important personal values?
Personal values, I mean, I would say integrity. Integrity, and if you say you're gonna do something, do it.
Yeah.
Don't just talk about it. Go for it and do it. A lot of people get stuck in their life saying, "Hey, one day I'm gonna do this," and then they never do it. That would be another, advice or one of a good value that I view, at least.
Definitely.
Don't beat around the bush, man. Be about it.
Is there anything that you want for people to remember you by?
The work that I put out there. We take our jobs serious, especially dealing with airplanes. These things you can't just pull over.
True.
So you got to do things right. But not only that, man, we do our best to show quality work, and someday people are gonna remember us by that. Like, hey, there was this shop who basically were the best at what they do.
True.
So I think that's one of the things I would want most people to remember us about. Hey, they didn't cut no corners. They did things right, and they turned out a beautiful airplane.
That's right. How hard was it at the beginning as these companies or these private individuals trusting you with your work? How was that you taking it, and how did you separate yourself from other shops overall?
Yeah, so that right there, as I told you, John set up this guy to come from Hemet and bring a shop. Remember that?
Yes.
And Mark Lightsey was a white guy.
Yeah.
And he I guess, he mentored us as well, as far as showed us a lot of the skills that we use now came from Mark Lightsey because he was doing this.
Okay.
And he just took Nando and I in. And so we didn't have an issue because he was the one getting the work.
Oh, I see.
We were just doing the...
Okay.
We were doing the work, but
And
we
he was
had
the
a
face.
white face
He
in
was the
front of the
face.
shop.
Okay. Okay.
But Mark Lightsey said, hey, listen, in 10 years, I'm out of California. So you kids better learn everything you can learn because I'm bouncing. And sure enough, man, 10 years came by and he said, hey, I bought property in Tennessee.
Sheesh.
I'm leaving in 6 months. I'm going to leave you guys this hangar and one project. And, but by that time, 10 years had passed by. And we actually there's an air show in Wisconsin.
Okay.
It's called Oshkosh Air Venture. That's
Okay.
the name of the air show. This is the biggest air show for sure in the United States, if not maybe even in the world. And it's every year in July.
Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes we'll finish a project and we'll fly it there and put it in the air show. And,
Okay.
And it competes.
Yeah.
And with Mark, we've gotten, a couple of second place trophies.
Oh, wow.
And then, so we did second place trophy. So we became a known shop in the aviation industry.
Okay.
So when the move finally happened, where he left, we kept that one project, but we were already known. Like, hey, those kids that work with Mark, they know what they're
They
doing.
know what's up.
Yeah.
How was that transition?
That transition was nerve-wracking. Obviously, you're kind of going into the real world without your leader.
Yeah.
So, what do we do? So we put, Nando's the oldest one, and he's always kind of being the leader.
Okay.
So we put Nando as the leader of the shop.
Okay.
It's funny, my guys call me HR because I'm always on their ass. But anyways, the transition was smooth, man. We had that one project with a lot of work still to do.
That's dope.
So we hit the ground running, man, and we never stopped. Jobs kept coming in. We finished that one project and we took it to that air show, and we got first place with it. And once again, the biggest air show in the world, man, and it was a big deal.
Wow.
They gave us a Silver Ranch Award for
Okay.
it. They came, from there on, they did articles on us, so we
Okay.
came out on aviation magazines, multiple. I want to say 4 or 5 magazines have interviewed us and put us out there. So our shop has definitely become known and respectable by a lot of people.
So the first place trophy opened more doors for you as
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
becoming a separated from that John
Yeah,
Doe.
from Mark Lightsey,
From Mark Lightsey.
who's he's still a great friend of ours,
Yeah.
and when we're building stuff, he hears from us because
That's dope.
he's a
That's dope.
knowledgeable man, and he's still pretty young. I wanna say he's maybe 60, but we've learned. He definitely taught us a lot of skills, man, and we learned a lot from him. And throughout the 10 years,
Yeah.
my brother and I started buying tools because we know the day's coming.
Yes,
the
sir.
day's coming. So started buying tools and equipment and all that. So the transition, when he moved, he
Yeah.
picked up his tools and equipment. We had another hangar full of equipment. So that's why it was smooth. He left, we set up all our stuff. The shop never went away, basically.
You guys were ready.
We did change the name of the
Yeah.
shop. His shop name is Aero Craftsman.
Okay.
And then that's when we came up with West Coast Air Creations.
West Coast Air Creation.
Yeah.
Wow. Who came out with that name?
Nando. For the longest time, when we worked for Mark, we worked as contractors.
Okay.
So Nando went and opened up a DBA
Yeah.
called West Coast Air Creations, and I opened up my own little business name called Mendoza Brothers Aviation.
Okay.
So that's the business that I operate under. And to this day, West Coast Air Creations is run by Nando. I work in the shop.
Yeah.
I turn around and bill West Coast under Mendoza Brothers Aviation. That's just kind
As
of
a subcontractor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dope.
And that way, I do it that way because I'm able to do. Now I'm as a flight instructor, and you know, I get little side jobs and make money flying.
Hell yeah.
And I bill. Mendoza Brothers Aviation is the business that gets paid for all these other little gigs.
At what stage or what point hit you and you're like, shit, you know, this is where I'm at? From where I came and from what I was doing to having, you know, this hangar and working for these private, customers and having all these contracts. Because at the beginning, I'm pretty sure it didn't hit you because, you know, that was just, you know.
Yeah, I would say not until I got into my 30s, and then we started to see real money.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not rich, but I live a comfortable life, you know. I'm able to pay the bills and take care of my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not hurting for money. So it wasn't until my 30s where I'm like, okay, this is really something where we can make a good living, man. And we still haven't stopped. You know, we're adding to our empire.
Yeah.
We got, you know, this West Coast air creation business, and my brother and I just recently started to set up to start a engine overhaul shop.
Okay.
So we're gonna overhaul radial engines.
Okay.
A lot of overhaul shops are closing down in the United States, and we're gonna hopefully pick up a lot of the customers that they're dropping from closing down. So that's coming in the near future, man. We bought all the equipment already, and we got an instrumental person moving down here from Washington to be the lead guy in that shop. So that's gonna be a whole separate business setup, but in the aviation world.
That's dope.
So that'll open up a lot of
doors.
If it works out, it's gonna open up doors for us. Once again, this is just like, hey, if you don't take chances, Ivan, you're never gonna get anywhere.
Correct.
Okay, so we're taking a big gamble here, but if it works, it's gonna be a blessing to us and a blessing to a lot of people because we'll hopefully open up the doors to employment for some more people.
You definitely want to leave a mark.
Yeah,
overall.
Exactly. So yeah, we still haven't stopped, man. We're always looking to grow and make a little more money. At this stage of my life, if I stayed where I'm at for myself, I'm happy. But I wanna establish myself a little better and be able to pass down something worthwhile to the kids. Good. That's really who I'm looking at.
Good.
You know, or at least be able to help with. If they don't make the NBA or the NFL, I want to be able to help with their college tuition if I have to.
How do you deal with regrets or mistakes?
Well, you just got to take responsibility for your mistakes. You know, I mean, earlier I said I really don't have regrets when it comes to my life and what I've done. But I mean, there's little certain things that you do regret. Right?
Yeah.
You know, I regret putting my mom through what I put. You know, anyways, I can go through a list of small regrets, but the main thing is just, hey, shit happens, man. Life goes on.
Taking responsibility of that action.
Take responsibility for your mistakes.
Definitely.
And then keep it pushing after.
So, what is your best advice that you have received out there?
The advice.
Yes.
And I'll say it again. You know, I got this great advice once when from John Goldenbaum, who was a never pass up the opportunity to shut the fuck up. Right? So basically, don't talk too much, man. Just be humble, and you'll be good. You know, those who talk too much and they end up looking bad. So I think that's probably the best advice I can give people. Just be humble, man. No matter what you got, be humble, and everybody will respect you.
Definitely. What motivates you right now at this stage in life? What is your
Well,
motivation?
I guess the kids is one of my biggest motivations. Being able to be successful, so that they have someone they can look up to. That's one of my biggest motivation, and just all the other people who've helped me throughout my life. I don't want to let them down. So that's making them proud is also a motivation, like my parents, for example.
Definitely. I mean, overall, you definitely have a unique story as an individual with the background, and now on this stage in life that you have, 37 years old and owning a business with your brother, and now you're being a pilot, and now you are able to give that license to other individuals. That's definitely a big responsibility. As sharing that, to other people out there, meaning that what is the hours, or how does it take for that person, for someone that wants to get their license as a habit to fly a small plane? How does that work?
Yeah, so the minimum hour requirements are about 40 hours.
Okay.
You need 20 hours with an instructor, and then 20 hours solo.
Okay.
And there's a list of requirements. The average person in today's world gets their license more around 60 to 70 hours. You have the minimum requirement, and then you got what it really takes to
70 hours.
Yeah, so I think the average is looking at like 70 hours to get their pilot's license. They have requirements like cross countries, which is flights that are more than 50 or 100 nautical miles, they call them. So there's little requirements that you have to meet, but the hour minimum, once again, is 40 hours of flight time under your belt. Before, I think when I got my license, I soloed. Once again, you solo when the instructor thinks you're ready. I soloed at 13 hours, so I had 13 hours of flight instructing. And then the old man said, "Hey, you're ready," and I'm looking at him like, "Fuck, are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're ready." So I started flying.
How was that feeling the first time that you went by yourself?
Ah, man, it's the craziest feeling I've ever had, to be honest. I mean, you're just happiness. You're excited. Finally, when the wheels leave the ground, and you're in there by yourself, I remember just like
adrenaline all over. Sheesh.
This is perfect. This is badass, and it was, it's hard to explain, man, but it's a beautiful feeling for sure. And when you're young, man, and then we're coming from where we come from, you're thinking like, man, what the hell? What am I doing?
You know what I mean?
But it was cool. I like I said, man, I built a passion for flying, and I wanted to do it. So I was.
Did you ever see yourself doing what you're doing today?
No, absolutely not, man. Throughout my early years, I used to ride my bicycle through the neighborhood, and when you come into the airport, there's big black gates. Yeah. And as a kid, I'm not supposed to go in there. This airport's unique because we leave the doors open and we invite the community in, which, we do police. Obviously, they're not going to allow kids to go and run on the runway. But
of course,
we built a little park in the entrance so that the community could come in and kind of see the airport. But as a kid, never, ever, ever did I imagine airplanes was going to be my life. And here we are now. So,
sheesh. What was going through your mind that first time that you are doing a solo flight, and what was in your head besides you got to get your shit together because I got to fly this shit, you know what I mean? But what was in your head as like, fuck,
Well, it's you train for it, right? So you train for it, and you think. Honestly, I didn't know that was the day that this guy would be like, "Okay, you're ready."
You're ready.
You know what I mean? So nerves kicks in for sure. I remember we flew out of here and we flew into Redlands Airport.
Okay.
And we're taxiing up by the gas pumps. And then he says, stop the airplane right here by the gas pumps, or the little FBO. I think there's some gas pumps right there. But anyways, so I come to a complete stop, and he says, okay, I'm gonna get off the airplane. You gotta go do 3 takeoffs and 3 landings. And the initial thought, I was like, he's joking.
Okay.
You know, he's a funny old guy, man, and it's a funny story how I met him. But he was from Maryland, from D.C., Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I met this guy when I was 18 years old because a job came up in London. They wanted somebody to do the fabric covering that we talked about on a blimp, on the control surfaces to a blimp.
Okay.
What's tail section, you know, like the Goodyear blimp,
okay,
like the big football looking thing. Yeah. So.
Oh, the big thing that flows whenever there's
the
like
Goodyear blimp or football stadiums and stuff like that. Well, the control surfaces have polyester fabric, what we do on the old airplanes.
Okay.
So they called John, since he owns a company that sells the materials, and said, hey, do you know somebody that does this work? And John says, I'm 18 years old. He's like, hey, you want to go to London? Shit, sure. So I go to London.
At 18 years old?
18 years old, and I spent about 5 weeks out there. And I met this old guy named Tony Markle.
Okay.
So we spent 5 weeks together working on these blimp surfaces. And when I got back, he and I built a little relationship. You know, the old man, he was real cool, man. Funny. The funniest story is the first day when we met.
Yeah.
Old white guy, grumpy old white guy. Here comes a Mexican kid, 18 years old, right? I went to London, shaved head. I used to shave my head back in the day. Shaved head, baggy pants, and a hoodie.
Yeah.
And this guy, old white guy with the sign with my name, Waldo Mendoza. I'm like, oh, what's up? So it's me. So we jump in a car, and then now it hits me that I'm in another country because the steering wheel is
it's on a different side.
On the right side, and then we're driving on the right side of the road. But anyways, we go to dinner, and this old white guy's like, 5 minutes into our conversation, he's like, you know what, kid? You sound really ignorant. And
that was his answer to you, or
that's what he told me. 5 minutes into our conversation, and I remember thinking, like, what the fuck?
You wanted to slap him?
What's wrong with this old man? Yeah, you know what I mean? I wanted to get hood on him, but I said, okay, well, at first I didn't know what to expect for the rest of the 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, this old guy's gonna be an asshole.
Yeah.
Well, he was really trying to help me, man, because maybe my speech wasn't good, and he said, hey, you're not speaking properly, you're using double negatives, and to me, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So he said, let's play this game. So every morning I'd wake up, and we were in the same hotel. And we would meet up at 5 a.m. to go to work. And he would give me 10 pounds, which is, let's say, $10.
Okay.
They call them pounds over there, and it's just coins. So $10, 10 pounds, all coins. And he would say, every time you make a mistake when you speak, I'm going to call you out on it, and I'm taking a pound back. Well, for the first couple of days, the old man would take all my money back, bro. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm just gonna start talking less. So and start thinking about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, anyways, long story short, halfway through that trip, I got it. I said, the old guy's just trying to help me. He's trying to help me and better my speech and all that. And I appreciate that.
That's dope.
So I told him one day, he knocks on my door, he's got the 10 pounds, and I said, Tony, his name was Tony, thank you. I know what you're trying to do. I really appreciate it. I'm done playing the game. I'll still try to improve my speech. And he's like, fair enough. And he didn't bug me no more. Anyways, we spent the 5 weeks. I come home. He called John Goldenbaum and said, hey, if that kid's ever interested in getting his pilot's license, let me know. I will donate my time, and I'll come teach him to fly.
Oh, wow.
So once we finished that project that we finished and they sponsored, Tony came over here, and he spent every bit of a month here, and he got Nando and I up to the solo stage. So we soloed, he went back, and then another instructor helped us finish the rest of the hours. once again, 20 hours with an instructor, 20 hours solo,
Okay.
plus the requirements, and then you get your license.
Wow. That's definitely a unique story. What is Waldo when it comes to an instructor? How do you carry yourself when it comes into that role?
I put on a professional hat. You know, I can sit here and be with the homie and clown around and do our thing.
Yeah.
But in that environment, I do change roles, and I have to put on a different hat because when I'm a mechanic, I gotta be professional mechanic. When I'm flight instructing, I have to be a professional flight instructor. So like I told you earlier, man, everything that I've ever joined, I go full 100% full throttle, and I take it serious. So whether it's flying or working on an airplane, I do the best I can do, and I try to stay professional and teach it right, because I'm not teaching just anything, man. I'm putting someone's life
correct
on an airplane, and then they're gonna take their family and put their lives in there. So
makes sense.
I definitely don't cut any corners.
Good. Yeah. That's definitely good. How many licenses have you signed off?
Well, actually, the instructor's license is something pretty new. I got it about a year and a half ago, and I've done a lot of every pilot. Every 2 years, they have to do what they call a flight review.
Okay.
Or a biannual, and now it's called a flight review. Which means if you had your pilot's license 2 years down the road, you got to go to a certified instructor and show that instructor that you can still still doing your thing and know the rules. So I've done quite a bit of those. In the last year, I've probably done 5-6 flight reviews, and then I have a student right now who's getting ready for his check ride, which is the final test for him to get his actual license. So that's my first one. Now this guy, he was a tough one because, and he didn't know any better, but he went and bought a high performance complex airplane, which complicates learning everything. So there's different
Explain
stages.
that to a 5-year-old.
So
you know what I mean?
Think about it this way, man. The airplane that most people know, when you go get your initial private pilot license, you're most likely gonna fly a Cessna, okay? A 172 or a 150 is what you're gonna use, and those are tricycle gear airplanes.
Okay.
Probably the easiest airplanes to fly because you're just learning, right?
Yeah.
And you want something simple. You don't want to overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
So those are once again tricycle gear, and it's fixed gear, which is the gear doesn't retract or anything.
Okay.
So these are the simplest airplanes to fly. Now, when you move on, you get your license and you want to fly bigger and better things, you got to climb up the ladder. So now you get an airplane that is high performance. So it's got to be a certain amount of horsepower.
Okay.
So more than 200 horsepower, and the high performance and complex basically is the horsepower.
Yeah.
The propeller blades on the initial airplane that most people fly.
Yeah.
You can't switch the pitch or make them change angles basically.
Okay.
On a high performance airplane, you got those things to worry about. You got landing gear to worry about.
Oh, shit.
And now you have extra levers because you have not only your throttle,
but
also your propeller lever. So it's a high workload for someone to learn to fly that type of airplane.
So there's more gadgets to worry about.
Yeah, so exactly. So the easy way to do it is I'll get you your private pilot's license.
Yeah.
Then you go and add the high performance rating to your license. Well, this guy jumped the gun and
he went straight.
Says, I want to learn to fly. I got money. I'm going to buy an airplane. So he goes and buys a high performance complex airplane. So back to the whole solo thing. On a regular Cessna, you can, if you're sharp, you can do it in 10 to 15 hours, maybe 20 hours. This guy, and he's a sharp guy, he's 55 years old, I believe, and smart guy. but a high performance airplane is easy to, you have to be ahead of the airplane.
Okay.
But you're just learning, so the airplane is ahead of you. So I think it took every bit of 34 to 36 hours before I thought he was ready to solo.
Wow.
Anyways, back to your questions, he's my first actual student that I've taken all the way through. And he's looking to do his check right here in the next 2 weeks or so.
Wow. How do you feel about that?
I think he's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready now. I soloed him. It's been, I don't know, 2-3 months now, and he flies the hell out of the airplane. So
good for him.
So
it's like jumping from a Honda to a Ferrari,
So he's probably, just because of
Lamborghini.
It's hard to find an examiner to do the check ride. You have to book a date for the guy to do the actual test. You have a oral part of the test.
Okay.
You sit with the examiner for 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
And he's hitting you all on the book stuff.
Okay.
And then you have to go do the flight, which is usually, it could be 1 or 2 hours tops, so that you show him that you can do all the requirements. And sometimes, right now, the demand is high, so these examiners are 2-3 months out. So anyways, this guy flies all the time, and
wow.
So he's probably got close to 100 hours, I bet. He's still not licensed, but he can fly by himself, because I signed him off, so I basically give him a permit to be able to fly by himself.
For any of the viewers that would like to, at one point in life, they're like, I would like to learn how to fly this motor plane. What are the requirements? Where do they start? Where do they sign up? Or anything that you can guide them to that process?
Yeah, so you can look it up. It's really easy to see all the requirements. Even if you Google it, it'll pop up. The FAA, which is Federal Aviation Administration, will pop up right away, and it'll give you all the requirements. But like I said, you can. It's possible. I know a lot of people don't know that this type of deal will exist, but it is possible to do it, man. It's just it's a little expensive in today's world. You're looking at probably depends on where you go and who you go to, but you spend every bit of $15,000 to $20,000 to get your pilot license. Yeah, but yeah, the requirements once again, and here in the U.S. you got the age requirement, and then you have to be proficient in the English language.
Yes.
You don't have to be a U.S. citizen, but there's extra steps if you're not a U.S. citizen that you have to meet to get your license. And off the top of my head, I don't know all the requirements, but you can look them up. They'll pop right up. If you Google them, they pop up.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, at least you guys know. Just try to, anyone out there wants to start flying and learning how to do that, just Google it, try to get your savings together, because it's expensive hobby, you know what I mean? And all of that. Before moving forward, I would like to share you some of these, one of our sponsors. It's my brother, Chato from Sitting Bull. He owns a cigar shop, you know what I mean? And he was kind to donate a couple of cigars with our logo in here. He's today sponsor for La Vida podcast. So I would like for you to get one for you and one for your brother.
Oh, all right.
You know what I mean?
Cool.
Thanks to our brother Chato from Sitting Bull. Please, you can find him on Instagram. Give him a like, a follow. We always try here on this podcast to support small business. We are definitely the backbone of helping each other and all of that. So please follow the brother, give him a like, and hopefully if you like cigars, if you like into that, is try to buy him some cigars. Thank you, brother. Highly appreciate it. Hope you like him. Hope your brother like him as well.
I'll definitely try him, man, because and maybe he'll get some business out of it, because we don't spend our whole life working. We do like to take a break.
Yes, sir.
And my brother and I, you know, we'll crack open a cigar
Hell
and,
yeah.
and smoke a cigar every now and then. And we got friends that do the same thing. So we actually gather up here. And I was telling you earlier, but, you know, we're starting we're trying to start a little cigar club, more, you know, just social type cigar club, and have little events here where we gather up.
That's dope.
Smoke some cigars and just
chill,
talk
talk
about
stories.
life, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
You know, overall, thank you for taking your time, you know, and try to share your story with the viewers and myself. I highly appreciate that. You know what I mean? We've known each other for several years. We wrote together several times, you know, and at the end of the day, I just wanted to shine the light in your story because you do have a unique story, you know what I mean? And that has created a lot of things and opened doors to you. And I wanted to share that to the viewers and to the youth at the end of the day for them to see the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Even though, like I said before, we do come from this background, but we are able to gather ourselves and become a better person and overall break the chain, you know what I mean?
yeah, and it's I appreciate people like you, man, because a lot of these kids that are in that world, you know, gang banging and doing their thing, a lot of these kids are smart.
Yes.
They just need a mentor or somebody to look up to.
Little push.
And when they see people like yourself or even myself, some of these kids, they do open up their eyes and say, oh shit, there's some guy that did it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, definitely, you know, a pleasure to work with you, man, and be able to do this. And like you said, we've been friends for quite a long time.
Yes,
so
sir.
I couldn't shoot you down, and I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Of course, man. You know,
I want to share my story as much as you do, and I appreciate you even thinking about us and,
you know, man,
and putting us out there.
Well, I always say that an idea never comes to life without everyone's, you know, input. You know, and this is your input and putting a little bit of help, you know, just not just the idea, just putting it all together and have it in this contact and putting it out there, you know what I mean? It's just overall, just leaving a mark the same way that you leave in your mark with your business and aviation and all of that, and giving an opportunity to the youth by bringing back the program that you stated. When you got the opportunity, you know what I mean? I feel like I want to do that myself, as putting this podcast together and sharing it to the youth and to the public that the so-called minority is still strong and holding business together. You know what I mean?
All right, man. Well, that's it for today. Maybe later on we could do a round two or something.
Definitely. I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of viewers that will have a lot of questions and want to follow through about the youth program that is local and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you're doing a good thing, and overall, thank you for opening your doors and giving us a tour of your life that you have created, you know what I mean?
These are, you know, some of the paint jobs that we've done. These two airplanes live in Oxnard. They're 1929 Travelers.
There's one last question that I would like to ask, and all of these questions, you know, are put together and stuff like that. But there is one question that I just want to see as, what would be your advice to your younger version today?
Advice I would give to
your younger version today, you know what I mean? Because only you know who you are at the time, and you walk the shoes, you know what I mean? So you only know what's up. So what would be today at your age and all of that experiences you have been through with your brother and coming through, you know, going through jail and going through the stages in life, you know what I mean? And now that you're a father, have the blessing to become a father, have 3 kids, what would be your advice to your younger version today?
I would, I guess the advice I would give myself would be to think about the future, past, you know, think past tomorrow.
Yes.
Because life happens quick, man.
Yes, sir.
I still remember when I was 14, and now look, now we're 37. So think about the future, because it's easy to get caught up, man, and you're at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yes,
and if you're, if you walk like a duck, and act, that saying, but
Yeah.
you can throw your life away super easy.
Quick second.
So it's hard, man, because I feel so lucky. It was just by pure luck or God's grace that I made it out, because I did a lot of dumb stuff that could have got me caught up, and I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, to my younger self is just really think about what you're doing, because things could take the wrong turn very quickly.
In the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye can definitely not as small, but it's just a drastic decision overall can make you or can break you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You can, you don't think about consequences at that age.
No, we don't.
You go and you handle business, and you never know. You get away with it sometimes.
Yes, sir.
But not all the time, man.
Yeah. Well, times have changed from where our background comes from, you know what I mean? 80s, 90s to where we are today. I feel nowadays everybody has a phone, there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a little bit difficult as, you know what I mean, our time that we were able to go and play on the street with a bicycle or running around or hide and seek.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays, they're on their phone, iPad, so times have changed, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So overall, we do definitely appreciate that we are here, we're doing something out of our lives and break the chain overall, because now we have someone, your kids are looking up to you, and they're following your steps, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, that's a blessing, bro, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you overall for your time. Thank you for opening us the door and not sharing myself and just sharing the viewers of what have you become as an individual, and then that 1%, it's more than that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One more last thing that I just want to say, that people will respect you as much as you respect yourself. You just keep that in mind, and just want to share that to the viewers. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.